We have used language for thousands of years to communicate knowledge from one generation to another. And now ChatGPT uses language as a model to give you an answer to any question you have. We have to adapt and we have to change our students to become critical thinkers. For those who are eager to learn, it opens the boundaries.
Welcome, viewers, to this episode of Bcubed, Breaking Boundaries with Sabeer Bhatia yet again. And this episode is going to be about ChatGPT. I welcome to this episode Shubhanyal Ghoshal. Welcome, Shubhanyal.
It's a pleasure.
Good to have you here. Shubhanyal Ghoshal is a professor at Masters Union. He teaches operations management. Earlier, he was managing director with Accenture. He's had his education at BITS Pilani and IIM Ahmedabad. And it's just as well that we have him here for this very technical subject. So while we're talking about artificial intelligence and all that, where is the connect with ChatGPT? Suddenly we hear a lot about ChatGPT. The world is abuzz with ChatGPT, the master genie. Sabeer, what is it all about?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me that question. We've all been hearing about artificial intelligence since about 2010, where how AI is being used to find meaning in data. You feed it lots of data, it can predict new things. It can tell you customer relationships. It can tell you interesting things. But for the first time, the power of AI was used on human language. And that changed everything, because what ChatGPT does is it takes human language, tokenizes it, and gives you a response and predicts what the next term is going to be. Now, this is a technical way of describing how ChatGPT works. But the beauty of this is, all of a sudden, the power of AI now is available to humans like you and I. It depends upon us what kind of question we ask in the form of a chat box. And any query we give it, it spits out a response. And lo and behold, it learns from the wisdom of the entire internet. So all of a sudden, now you have this super search engine where you can ask it any question you want and it will give you a meaningful answer. It's not very good at being accurate, but it's very creative in crafting this response. It may not give you the right answer if you ask it, what is the capital of India, for example. It may not know, it may call Delhi or New Delhi. But if you ask it a deep and thought-provoking question, like, tell me, what are the causes of diabetes? It is very likely to give you an answer like a professor of medicine would. Now that changes everything, because the kind of applications this opens up to humans are just mind-blowing. We have used language for thousands of years to communicate knowledge from one generation to another. And now ChatGPT uses language as a model to give you an answer to any question you have. That, in a nutshell, is, the power of what these large language models are and why there is so much buzz about ChatGPT.
Shubhanyal, for the last 20 years, you've been with supply chain management, technology, and operations. So what better person than you for me to pose this question to? How is ChatGPT applied in business communications and customer service?
So I think ChatGPT is very useful wherever you use language in business. And the first thing that comes to mind is customer service. So your prospective customers may want to know about your product or your services. Existing customers may have a question about, for example, where's my shipment at, right? ChatGPT enables customers to interact with the company, and the company is able to answer any queries that a customer may have regarding the service or the product. So it's very powerful because all of your company's knowledge is encapsulated uh, in a large language model, which ChatGPT can use to answer the question. Internally, within a company, for example, suppose I'm an employee and I want to understand, I have a question about the HR policies, or I have a question on IT security. ChatGPT based applications are deployed to be able to take that complex knowledge and to be able to answer that if an employee has a question. So in business communication, and I just gave you one example, ChatGPT is very powerful in unlocking the complex knowledge that a company may have that could be of use for their employees.
Sabeer, you have of late been doing a lot of work looking at education and learning and personal productivity, what with the Showreel app and its utility. So, what do you have to say about ChatGPT and in education and learning and personal productivity?
Phenomenal. It is just mind blowing. I mean, it renders traditional education almost irrelevant because if you think of how we test students, when we teach them something, it's through language. We ask them a question and we ask them to give their best case answer. Today, if they have ChatGPT at their disposal, they can type that same question and get the answer straight from ChatGPT without thinking about how they're answering it. So that is the scary part. So if I'm almost predicting that all knowledge-based systems of education will become irrelevant with ChatGPT. We have to adapt and we have to change our students to become critical thinkers where they learn from ChatGPT, but they have to understand the concept, internalize it, and be able to, voice it in their own words and describe what they have learned. So the implications of this on education are profound. I mean, all the tests that we've all gone through, examinations, multiple choice tests, weekly exams, suddenly have become irrelevant if somebody has access to ChatGPT. It's like having a search engine on steroids because you can ask it an in-depth question and it will give you an in-depth, and you can even tell it, tell me the response to this question in 100 words, in 1,000 words. It'll write an essay for you. It'll write a book for you. I mean, that is the power. And it has learnt and it has the wisdom of all of the internet behind it. That is what is so mind-blowingly powerful about these large language models, that they now use language to communicate with us.
Sabeer, what you are really saying is that the advent of ChatGPT is going to change the course of evolution of the human mind because it goes more towards the creative side as compared to the memorization and rote learning and all that. So that's really quite remarkable. Now, in that sense, it's a great creative resource as well. Is it a creative resource? One. Two, if that be so, then would it have something called EQ?
Yeah,
Emotional.
no, I don't think it has any EQ. Like I said, it doesn't understand what it's doing. It depends on you as the questioner, as the prompter, to ask it the right question. It just does work for you. It just does menial work for you. So think of it as a super assistant. The original idea is yours, but how you bring it out, how you embellish it, so you have to give it some direction, creative inputs, and it does a lot of the mundane work for you. I'll give you an example. Simple. you want to write a letter to your local legislator or your local city member that the street in front of your apartment or your home needs to be repaved, as an example. There are certain niceties that you go into creation of a letter. You put certain emotion into it. You don't need to do that with ChatGPT. Just go to ChatGPT and say, write me a letter to the local city member saying my street in front of my home needs to be fixed. That's it. It writes a very elegantly written letter for you. So it does the hard or the menial work, but the original idea has to come from you. Or if you have certain idea and you want to expand on it, you want to embellish it, you want to put it in the form of a business plan or a paper, use ChatGPT. That's the beauty of ChatGPT. It does not take away the thinking from you, but it is a super assistant that does a lot of the heavy lifting or a lot of the the grunt work for you.
How is it different to what was available earlier? Like, the templates were available on the internet and you could just go and a template would appear. And how is it different to that?
Huge difference. First, you would have to sift through 10 templates, find the right one, put in all of your data on that one. Now, you don't have to find any template. You just tell it, write me a letter. You don't like it, say, write it again in this tone, or change this, or change that. And now you can do that not just for language, but you can do it for images, for video creation. Can you imagine if you want to create a logo for a new company? Just go to ChatGPT and say, create me a logo. This is what I want in the logo. This is what I want it to look like. This is the local aspects of it. This is what it has. So the more information you give it, the more accurate its response will be, in a nutshell.
Shubhanyal, would it impact programming and technology development?
No, absolutely. And building on what Sabeer said, yes, there is a creative aspect. Suppose you're building an app. There is a creative aspect, but there's a lot of housekeeping and menial work you do in terms of writing the code, right? ChatGPT is able to generate code and write it for you. All you have to do is specify what is to be written, right? And this, low code or no code has been, a vision for a long time. But with ChatGPT, I think we can really reach a no code world in which anybody can probably develop an app.
Currently, there is a set of people who have access to ChatGPT. Is this access itself going to increase over time?
The whole world has access to ChatGPT.
Okay.
It's not just a few. That's the beauty. And ChatGPT is not by itself. Every large software company has come out with its own version of a large language model. You have Bard with Google. Microsoft has Bing Chat that rests on ChatGPT. So increasingly you are finding very focused chat boxes, which are addressing vertical industries and vertical markets. The beauty is, like I said, the heavy lifting, the thinking, the trying to find the right search term is all gone. It's how well you are able to use it depends on how good your prompt is. That is why people believe that in the next 4 to 5 years, one of the most sought after jobs will be of that of a prompt engineer. So you have to know what question to ask it in order to get the right response. And so it almost is, your mental assistant. It reads your mind, but you have to verbalize what you want to ask it in the right fashion. And then it will give you a response in that same fashion.
So it would be hugely beneficial for people for people who are challenged in some ways and people with alternative abilities.
Yes.
They would stand to benefit a lot.
Everybody would, really, because it kind of understands you. You can say, I don't understand this concept. Explain to me like you're explaining to a 5-year-old. it will break down a complex idea, go down to the level of a 5-year-old and explain it to you as if you're a 5-year-old. Sometimes we need to understand complex things. For example, I don't know, how an LED television works, for example. You can ask ChatGPT, explain to me how an LED television works, and it'll tell you exactly. So it has, for those who are eager to learn, it opens the boundaries of all of human knowledge in the form of a chat box.
Of late, we've seen that cross-section of people, they have some mental health related issues of adjustability and so on and so forth. Now, could this be a useful tool for those people?
I think it would. I mean, there's no replacement for a doctor. We're not advocating that ChatGPT replace doctor, but to understand basic issues of your own mental health, or you need a friend to talk to, it can be a very valuable resource, in explaining things to you, in helping you understand how the world works, in describing, what may be going right or wrong in an interpersonal relationship. Like I said, it's no replacement for a therapist, but for those people who sometimes need to talk to another human being and are lonely, ChatGPT can be a wonderful friend.
Very well. Shubhanyal, language learning is something that perhaps can be facilitated by this kind of a tool. Is it true? That's one. And second is language interpretation. I hear that there is a new Samsung device that's coming, whereby somebody will be speaking from the other side, and AI will kind of, deliver it to the listener side in the listener's language. So something like that.
So, translation has been around for a while. But I think with applications based on ChatGPT, it just gets turbocharged. So if you're learning a new language, translation is definitely the first application or the first, use case. But then ChatGPT and all these models are now multilingual, right? So it can answer you back in a language that you're trying to learn. It can explain to you, for example, the structure and grammar of a language. So I think from a lot of perspectives, ChatGPT can enhance language learning, but there are still some limitations that are there. For example, sarcasm. Detecting sarcasm is something that is very challenging. Humans can do it. ChatGPT or natural language models don't have a capability at the present moment, or tone, or inflection. And these are some things I think that researchers are working on, which will further enhance the power of tools like ChatGPT.
In fact, extending what Shubhanyal just said, Google already has, I think it's called Gemini, a model that takes in video input and analyzes the video input and gives you an appropriate response. So it takes chat to another level where you can speak and talk and see or present your face to the model, and it will answer you as if so it'll understand even nuances of whether you're upset, you're happy, what mood you are in, and give you the appropriate response based upon that.
And therefore sarcasm as well.
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay. And what about understanding of very complex information sometimes? Sometimes information is very complex, which would usually understood by experts in the field. So what about the application of ChatGPT there?
So I'll give you an example. Okay. Say business. I'll take a business example. Businesses sign contracts. Now, none of us have legal training or legal background, but these contracts are very important to our business. So if I'm able to encapsulate the contract language within a GPT engine, then I, as a manager, can go ask questions of, what's in this contract? What am I at risk of? So it can explain a complex topic like legal language to us managers. These are some of the areas in which I think ChatGPT could be very powerful. Uh, but training the tool is again where the key lies. If you're able to train the engine with good data, then you'll get the right answers.
Yeah. So that's why we are very dependent on what is available on the internet. And right now, by and large, 80% of the internet is good, good intentions. It doesn't have misinformation. It doesn't have wrong data. So ChatGPT is great because in addition to business contracts, for example, I need to understand how a complex medical device works, and I don't know. I can ask ChatGPT, explain to me in simple terms how this medical device works. Or explain to me in simple terms, this is my blood data. What does it mean? So it's very powerful in that it can simplify complex ideas and present it to you in a way. So it's a remarkable learning tool. I mean, we discussed in an earlier episode that learning is a lifelong process. I think ChatGPT is one hell of a tool to help you constantly, enhance your body of knowledge, your understanding of the world, your view of the world, and in understanding complex ideas.
Does it impact multimedia, expressions?
Yes, that is obviously, there are so many extensions of ChatGPT that other companies have built upon these large language models. And now you can create, simple videos just by describing what you want to see. Or you can create images, based on some subconscious ideas that you have. And, it does a remarkable job of understanding your thinking, your thought process, and in creating images and creating multimedia objects for you.
Wonderful. So, ChatGPT definitely has come to stay. One. Two, change the course of human interaction with data and knowledge and its application, therefore. So I'm sure it's a great tool. And this was a great session on getting to know a little bit extra about ChatGPT. So thank you, viewers. I hope you found this episode very interesting and informative. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions to ask. In order to be able to do that, you need to download Showreel app from Play Store or App Store, and then go onto it and ask your questions for the gentleman to answer them. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.